And it's lifted high in the air to center field. Cervantes is going back. He's on the warning track. He jumps up, can't make the catch. Ball hits off the top part of the wall, and that's going to be an inside the park home run. First one on Otani, and he bounces it by the mound and through into center field. Being waved home is Young. He'll score. Shohei Otani.
And he just blew him away.
So straight heat from Kopech here.
Well, we got an effort by a fan here. I've been told, no souvenir.
1-2. Swing and a miss. Got him on a breaking ball away, and that is 3 strikeouts for Verlander in his last 4 hitters.
2-1 pitch is hit well out to straightaway center field. Young is going back. He is at the track. Hunter Renfroe bangs one off the batter's eye in straightaway center field. His first hit of the spring is a 2-run homer.
A lot of awesome early spring training action to get to here today on the show. We'll fill you in on the latest. Hey, everyone. Welcome to 1225 Live. I'm Alexa Datt. We also have a ton of free agents still on the market, so our MLB.com analyst Jim Duquette is going to stop by to try and find these guys a new home, like maybe Jake Arrieta to the Phillies. There have been some talks about that. Maybe possibly Greg Holland to the Angels. We've heard some reports there as well. Maybe, just maybe, Tim Lincecum making a comeback, but in Dodger blue. Or maybe with the Giants. We don't know. We're going to have Amy Gutierrez stop by in just a little bit and fill us in on the latest revolving around Tim Lincecum. She's also going to tell us how Evan Longoria and Andrew McCutchen are settling in there in the Bay Area as they found new homes and how that's all clicking. Plus, how this team is going to fit in a really competitive division. So she will stop by and fill us in on that as well. We start the show the way we start every day with Danny Wexman down in West Palm Beach. Beautiful weather down there, Danny. You're blending into the plants with your olive green jacket, and you still look tan as ever, girl. So we're so happy to have you today on the show. By the way, it's National Pancake Day, and so I want your take. Are you a pancake or are you a waffle girl?
I think we're about to go to battle because I am 100% a pancake girl. Chocolate chip pancakes, in fact, are my vice, and there's a place in our building where we work that make the best chocolate chip pancakes, and I could never turn them down.
You're 100% totally wrong. Listen, I don't mean to diss the national holiday because I know it's very sacred to a lot of people out there, but I am telling you it's waffles all the way. If you have any sort of vehicle that you can put, butter and maple syrup and, sour cream sometimes and powdered sugar on and even chocolate chips and fruit and have it be in the little nooks and crannies where it's all warm and it all melts together, what? That's the best vehicle. Waffles all day, man. Belgian waffles.
I'm sorry, did you say sour cream on a waffle?
Yeah, you never had sour cream waffles? What's wrong with you?
I'm asking you the same question.
Oh my gosh, man, I'm telling you, I got a treat for you when you get back then. Here's something that I think we can agree on, though. How about our MVPs? My MVP is Noah Syndergaard from yesterday, who blew everyone away, and hopefully that was a good thing, but he had a fantastic outing, looking as good as new, coming back from that lat strain in 2017. He opened the first inning with 4 straight fastballs, Danny, of 100 miles per hour. He ended it with a 92 mile per hour changeup that Jose Altuve basically laughed at, and he said that would strike him out 100 times out of 100 times seeing that pitch. So in 2 perfect innings, Syndergaard hit at least 100 miles per hour 11 times in 22 pitches. Anthony DiComo, who we know really well, works for us here, our Mets reporter, put it all into perspective when he sent out this tweet, but he also said only 3 starting pitchers on Earth fired that many triple-digit fastballs all of last season. So afterwards, Thor ran sprints on the backfield shirtless. He also did his post-game interview shirtless. And yes, we got this beautiful tweet from DiComo. By the way, Cut 4 put all of this together and basically was like, no one likes to show off, where Thor responded, do you want to take this outside? Yeah, we want to take it outside, but hopefully maybe you can put your shirt on first because we're just a bunch of reporters trying to do our job here and we want you to be fully clothed. Thank you.
How about the other part is, and he's like, yeah, it was like not a lot of effort. I didn't really exert that much effort throwing 100 miles per hour, Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty impressive. And he said it was controlled aggression, which I'm not really sure what that means. But Mets fans are hoping that controlled aggression can stay, just as hot as it was yesterday all season long. So we'll see. Hey, Danny, how about your MVP?
Okay, so I did something a little outside the box. This caught my eye. So we're going to head down to Brewers-Indians. It's top 9. There's 2 guys on. There's only 1 out. So Eric Davis deals the ball. It's a quick grounder to the right side. Aguilar makes the putout, but their guy on third is hesitating. So Aguilar throws down to second base. Mauricio Dubon legs out this tag. It's the guy before the runner on third can score, so that's a game-ending double play. Talk about spring training games where a guy like Mauricio Dubon can make this play, end the game, and be the hero of it. And I just thought it was so funny because they took so much effort to make this play happen. And, you know, it's just a spring training game, but those guys, they put in the work and they got the out. So the Brewers get the win over the Indians. But Lex, I think more importantly is this photo that I need to show you of Giancarlo Stanton. He is our modern day Hercules. When you think of him, you think of muscles, right? So this photo came out, and what we're going to do today is we're going to caption it. But I saw this tweet and I thought it was so appropriate because basically this guy is thinking, okay, maybe they're shooting a commercial. Maybe it's Stanton, Aaron Judge, and Sonny Gray, because Sonny Gray's nickname is Pickles. So maybe Sonny Gray comes in after Judge and Stanton try to open it, and Sonny Gray easily rips off the cap and makes it happen. And I kind of like that notion and that theory, and I'm going to go with that as well. But this is our question of the day today. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So we're asking you guys to caption this photo. If you're not on Facebook, you have to head over right now. We're going to read these comments at the end of the show. But caption this photo for us. What in the world is Giancarlo Stanton thinking trying to open this jar of pickles?
All right, I love it. Danny, thank you so much. We'll check in just a little bit, and also we're going to check all those answers over on Facebook, so make sure you get your answers in, and Danny, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Danny. All right, we've been talking a lot about the Yankees, and it was so interesting. They had a visitor down there at camp on Monday, and it was pretty cool to see. So we're going to talk to our favorite NFL sideline reporter right now, Jim Duquette, who is joining us live from Clearwater, Florida, who got to hang out with Russell Wilson down there in Yankees camp. I know this was so fun for you, Duke, as you sent us this picture, basically like, hey, I want to talk about this photo. You've been so good about tweeting and Instagramming photos out now. Yeah. So the question to you is basically, is this a case of a football player trying to squeeze into a baseball player's uniform, or can this guy really ball?
I'll tell you what, he has some skills, Alexa. When you look at him as a hitter, he put on a pretty good show in batting practice. I had a chance to catch up with Giancarlo Stanton and ask him about it and others, and watched him during batting practice. He hit 4 home runs over the fence in left field, a couple that were long shots, and I was really impressed because he didn't get a chance to take any swings in the cage, which normally you would do ahead of time. He took some front toss flips, but that was it to kind of let's say dust off the cobwebs, so to speak. But he looked like he was in pretty good shape for a guy who hadn't swung the bat that well. He took off his batting gloves though and showed me he had a big old blister, and he's like, I'm not even going to worry about it. Put a little tape on it and get going again. He was into it, man. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Duke, it's so interesting because we talk about his size in the NFL. Can you compare his size when he stands next to Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge?
Well, as you saw in that picture, he and I are both a hulking, towering 6 feet tall. So, when you look at how he compares to those other guys, I mean, I thought it was good because, they obviously are home run hitters. He wanted to kind of keep up and show his athleticism. But he's a different kind of athlete, as we know, as a quarterback. It's a whole different skill set. I got a chance to talk to him a little bit because I was in the Orioles organization, obviously, as their co-GM when we drafted him out of high school, 41st round, 07 draft. And he went on to college, made the right call, by the way, but he was also drafted by the Rockies. If you look at his numbers, they weren't all that bad in the minor leagues, weren't great. But Rockies executives that remember him thought he had a chance to be a major league player. And when I asked him that, he goes, oh, yeah, I would have been a big leaguer. So, certainly he picked the right sport. And we know as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL that was the right thing to do. But he's that type of rare athlete. There's just not a lot of them around.
Pretty cool. All right, you mentioned you also got to talk to Judge and Stanton. What is the dynamic duo saying about each other and what they're excited for the season?
Well, they have spent a lot of time together, obviously hitting in the cages. The two of them, when you look at their size, there are about 3 or 4 guys that are 6'7" or taller in the sport. Well, the Yankees have 2 of them, and they get to hang out together. They've already talked a lot about hitting. I think they're interesting contrasting style, though. You have Judge, who has more of an open type of stance. He's committed to that. Judge Stanton is more committed to the close stance. And so, as guys tend to go through their struggles during the course of the season, does one guy stay committed to that? Does he decide to change to the other guys? We'll have to wait and see what they decide. But they've been able to spend a lot of time talking, hitting, and Stanton has obviously been on the scene a long time, but he hasn't experienced New York, and so I think Judge has been helping him with that early transition as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I always say when I'm watching Stanton standing next to Judge, I didn't think that anyone could make Stanton look, small, and Judge pulls that off pretty well. So that's pretty cool to see. All right, you also spoke to Yankees GM Brian Cashman. Any chances that this team adds, anyone maybe to the infield there or to that starting rotation before the season starts?
I think the main thing, Alexa, is they may add on the rotation piece, but I still don't think so. I think they're pretty much done. The heavy lifting is done. And what Cash told us, Brian, was, hey, you know what? I want the group that we have in camp right now, I want them to play well. If they play well, then I don't have to worry about trying to upgrade. If they don't do well, then they're going to force me into having to make a move. And that's what he does. That's what the good GMs do. So he's still canvassing the market. Obviously, there's some good starting pitching out there right now, but I don't expect that they're going to go down that road and upgrade. At least it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, Aaron Boone also said that the Yankees aren't in play for Lance Lynn and Alex Cobb, so he made that pretty clear, like you said. So who could be in on these two free agent starters, do you think?
Well, I think the scope of the pitchers, the Milwaukee Brewers have certainly talked about it. St. Louis Cardinals. I wouldn't rule out the Baltimore Orioles at some point. Right here in camp, Philadelphia Phillies have talked about, mentioned one of those three guys. Jake Arrieta's name gets mentioned a lot. Even the Washington Nationals on Arrieta. They're all in a pretty starters at this point. I think, to me, is a sleeper out there because they have the money, they have the willingness. The owner wants to spend money, so and he's willing to spend money. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see one of those top guys, maybe even Arrieta, in camp. In fact, we're looking around to see if we could find Arrieta in one of the local Starbucks. We didn't see him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up soon.
On Arrieta watch, yeah, that sounds about right. Let's talk about him a little bit more, though. The Phillies are willing to give him a 3-year deal, but Arrieta's agent Scott Boras basically says that he thinks he's worth more than what Yu Darvish got, which was a 6-year, $126 million deal. So how are the two ends going to come together to get Arrieta to play on a team this year? Yeah,
value is one thing, what you think he's worth, and then what teams are willing to pay at this point is another. And I think this may be a situation where I don't disagree with Scott in terms of his evaluation. I think I would like to have him, if I could choose one or the other, Arrieta or Darvish, I would choose Arrieta. Arrieta pitched well in the postseason, as we know. Not that Darvish did, but he had the down World Series. But Arrieta has been a winner, and he's a guy that strikes out a lot of hitters. He's a top of the rotation guy, and Darvish, for me, on a good staff, he's more of a mid-rotation type starter. So. But again, teams aren't willing to pay that money. At some point, you have to come to that conclusion and decide what camp you want to go into. And I think we're getting close to that point with a guy like Arrieta, in my mind. The 3-year deal, I don't know what else has been thrown out there on the established marketplace. I've heard 4-year deals as well. But outside of that, I don't see him getting a 6-year deal, which is what he's been looking for all along.
We know that the Angels have been on a lot of people's minds, especially because of Shohei Otani. But talking about the back end of their bullpen, what are the chances that they could potentially land a Greg Holland or somebody to help shore up maybe that closer role?
Well, he's a perfect fit there, like he is in St. Louis, too. And I think that's the fascinating point is, where is Holland going to end up? Because he was so good last year. And I think in some ways he'd like to maybe do a do-over. He can't, but do a do-over and take that offer. There's a 3-year offer on the table from the Colorado Rockies that they turned down, and so the Rockies went and got Wade Davis. Well, he would look really good in that Rockies uniform like he did last year. Now, having said all that, Angels are a really good fit. They got by last year without an established closer, but for them to be where they want to go, instead of having to piece it together like they did with Bud Norris and guys like that, I think a perfect fit would be Holland. The only thing is, Scott Boras hasn't done a lot of deals with the Angels over the years, not since the negotiations for Mark Teixeira ended on a sour note and Teixeira signed with the Yankees. So it would be a change of heart, a willingness on the Angels side to go back down that road again. So far, we haven't seen it.
Another big name free agent, Mike Moustakas. I mean, I can't believe I'm even saying these names at this point in the season, but this is the way this market has been. It's pretty incredible. A lot of people have him going back to the Royals, but if he doesn't re-sign with his former team, what's an obvious landing spot for him?
Well, I think another obvious landing spot are the White Sox, and that's another team that haven't had a lot of signings with Scott Boras over the years, more recently, but they are always on the hunt for third base prospects that or third basemen that have been key guys at the major league level. They haven't had many of them. Obviously Ventura, a couple, Beckham, but other than that, there really hasn't been an awful lot along the way. Joe Creedy stands out a little bit, but they've had a hard time filling that position. So, we heard reports and rumors of them possibly being on Moustakas. Keep an eye on them as well. But yeah, it's one of those where I could see him signing a one-year deal as a pillow contract and going back out in the marketplace when you're going to have 6 or 7 teams needing third baseman.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the free agent marketplace that you want to dive into, though, next year, because there are a lot of big names. And, that'll be pretty interesting. A lot of money is being set aside for some of those marquee names. All right, John Heyman is reporting that the Rangers and Dodgers of all teams are among the major league franchises willing to give Tim Lincecum a major league deal. 33 years old, but we know what he's done. We've, witnessed his track history. Where do you think he plays baseball, if at all, in 2018?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating one because if you look at some of the reports, he went up and reworked his delivery at a company called Driveline up in Washington or Seattle area, and it sounds like his velocity was crept up into the low 90s, 92, 93 miles an hour. And if he's in that range, that's more than enough with the way he pitches with the slider and the changeup to pitch at the major league level. We saw last year Texas, had a couple guys on one-year deals. A guy like Andrew Kashner, they found the spot for A.J. Griffin, among others. I feel like that's probably the better landing spot. The Dodgers obviously will have a spot potentially for him. I just can't imagine him in a Dodgers uniform, right? That feels like Brian Wilson all over again.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll, I think if it's the only job, then he would do it. I just have a hard time seeing him in Dodger blue.
Yeah, the fact that they open the season against each other, it would be pretty interesting too. Man, I know that would break a lot of Giants fans' hearts. All right, the other question I wanted to ask you is about Yuri Gurriel, and his original wrist injury is now a hand injury. He was sent back to Houston to have that taken a look at. Do you think that if this is a long-term thing for them, the Astros will look outside or inside to, maybe have somebody replace him for a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating one. I believe they have options. They've had guys like Tyler White in the past. They do have, when you look at Marwin Gonzalez, they had a hard time finding at bats for it. They might, if it's not a season-ending thing, which hopefully it's not, they might decide to just go what they have internally, at least for the time being. I think they have plenty of offense there with the Astros to kind of cover for the early going. If that ends up being let's say a DL situation in the early part of the season. Hopefully that won't be the case. I always think of, when you go back to Houston to see the doctors and the specialists, that's usually not a good sign, So hopefully that, the injury would be a short-term one and that we don't see him out for very long.
All right, yeah, we wish him the best, absolutely. Our MLB.com analyst, Jim Duquette. Duke, thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy that nice weather down there.
I will try. I'll put sunscreen on my head, too. I know you're looking out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, see you, Duke.
All right, see you. Bye.
All right, it's hard to imagine that a Super Bowl winning quarterback would have anything left on his bucket list after winning the Super Bowl, but that was the case for Russell Wilson when he was down in Yankees camp, and he was able to cross a couple things off of that bucket list, achieving his dreams when he was taking BP with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, and he mentioned Gary Sanchez as well. He got Sanchez in there, so I thought that was pretty nice, and it was cool too because he was also fielding grounders with Didi Gregorius. This guy was all around camp. I mean, the guy, like Duke just mentioned, has been a baseball player his entire life, so this was something that he really looked forward to, and here he was after being able to hang out in pinstripes.
It's definitely one of the coolest things I've ever done. Ever since I was a young kid, I always dreamed to be a Yankee. I always watched him. My favorite player was Derek Jeter. Growing up and watching him and his professionalism, how he played the game and the competitiveness he played with, the passion, the love, the joy that he played with every day. Watching some of the greatest players in the world. I tried to get number 3, but I think somebody had it already. One of the things I'm super excited about, besides being in the BP group with Aaron Judge and Stanton and Sanchez and those guys, but the thing I'm excited about the most is really learning about the Yankees and how they've won 27 World Championships. You think about 27 World Championships, what that takes, the mentality. There's an aroma around here that I got to figure out, and I can't wait to learn more about it and use that for my football career as well.
So awesome. He looks like a kid who was achieving his dreams right there, and awesome to hear him talk about it and what it meant to him, and not only him, but to his dad too. So very nicely done there, Russell Wilson. All right, we also wanted to mention a couple of players who had some very awesome moments with their daughters. This came from Corey Kluber, who basically we call Klubot because we never see a lot of emotion from him. And remember when he won the Cy Young, he basically was literally like a robot. I mean, he just kind of sat there and he's like, me, I'm really low-key. Well, we know now what he does in his downtime. He colors with his daughter. And he was saying there in that tweet, when your daughter asks you to color a picture, you got to show her how it's done. So the fact that they were battling there with the crayons was pretty cool. And then the ever so adorable Sadie Sogard, who we've heard from often here on the show, was hanging out watching her dad yesterday, Eric Sogard of the Brewers, and she wanted to make sure that she was the loudest fan in the stands. Take a listen.
Daddy, you're my best friend. Best friend.
My dad's my best friend too, Sadie. I feel you. So I thought that was pretty cute. Awesome stuff there. All right, we wanted to remind you of our question of the day as we take a look at this photo. How would you caption this photo? This is none other than Mr. Muscles, as Danny calls him, Giancarlo Stanton, trying to open this pickle jar, having a little bit of trouble. So give us the caption that you think would match this photo. Head on over to Facebook, fill out the caption there, and we will read some of those answers a little bit later on in the show. All right, time for us to head to or talk to you about the Giants. We're going to head to San Francisco right now with Amy Gutierrez joining the show right now, the Giants reporter for NBC Sports Bay Area. Amy, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We want to start off talking about Madison Bumgarner and the fact that this guy was so awesome in his spring debut. I know has a lot of fans really excited just because he's coming back from that dirt bike accident from last year. And he's scheduled to pitch on opening day, but the Giants could elect to skip the bottom of this rotation and get him in a couple more times at the beginning of this season. So how important is it for him to get off to a good start in 2018?
Well, thanks for having me, Alexa. This is fun, my debut on your show. I think it's a kind of a twofold answer. I think that it is very important for Madison to get off to a good start based on what happened to him last season. He has a lot to prove, a lot to make up for in the decision he made last year to go on that dirt bike. But I think the bigger picture, the bigger storyline is it's really important for the Giants to get off to what they're calling a quick start. So many of them coining the phrase that you can't win a season in the first couple of months, but you can certainly lose one, which is exactly what happened to them last season. So they're trying not to feel too much pressure that if, they do have a slow start, they're still not out of it. But last year by June, they weren't mathematically out of it, but they were certainly mentally out of it, and the focus was gone. It was a very long and rough season, trust me. But for Madison, the way the schedule falls, as you mentioned, there's an opportunity to be able to skip that fifth starter and get Madison in there. He's going to start opening day. He's going to start the home opener, and there's a chance for him to start a third game within the first 9. So if you're looking to get off to a quick start and get some W's in the column, then Madison's your guy. And I think he really wants to prove to the fan base and to his teammates, I am still that guy. I missed a lot of time last season, and I need to make up for that.
So with a healthy Madison Bumgarner now, you've got Johnny Cueto there in the rotation, along with Jeff Samardzija. How confident is this team in their starting staff compared to the rest of the starting staffs in the National League?
Well, I think their first 3 starters are, give you a lot to be confident about. I think Cueto had a down season last year. Bum obviously had a down season. He was out for most of the season. And I think Samardzija has some room for improvement. That 4 and 5 rotation spot is a really interesting competition in spring training right now. While the favorites are Chris Stratton and Ty Block because they've had time with the team and they've already had time to prove what they have. Chris Stratton really showing Bochy a lot towards the end of last season. You still have the Giants' top prospect in Tyler Beede. You've got Derek Holland now with the team trying to make the team, and you've got Andrew Suarez who's making quite a bit of noise. So it's actually really fun to watch this go down, and it's all positive competition, because not only are the young guys making each other better. I had a chance to sit down with Madison Bumgarner and Jeff Samardzija in our media day for the preview shows that were going to be coming out this weekend. And they love to watch this go down as well as veteran pitchers, because it sparks energy in everyone out there, and it raises everybody's game. You never want to be outdone. So I think it's a very good problem to have. They've got 5 guys going for 2 spots. And the biggest thing about it, Alexa, is it gives the Giants depth. Should they deal with injuries, of which they've had to deal with so much over the last few seasons, they have depth in their rotation finally for a long time.
All right, let's talk about the slew of talent that this team brought in the offseason. Austin Jackson, Evan Longoria, Andrew McCutchen. Let's start in the outfield, though, with Austin Jackson. Will he be the opening day starting center fielder?
Oh, you're just going to throw me under the bus on this one, huh? I think so. I'm going to say yes. Obviously, there's a competition for center field between Jackson and Steven Duggar. But Duggar, 24, a top prospect for the Giants. Great defensively, still has a little bit of work to do at the plate. I think the way the Giants work, at least the 10 seasons that I've been covering them, they want to make sure Duggar's ready to go. And if he's not completely ready for opening day, which I'm not saying he wouldn't be, but if he's not, they're not going to put him on the opening roster because they don't want to take away playing time. They're going to put him back with the AAA team and get him at bats. They signed Austin Jackson. They went after this guy. So there was a reason for that. And one of the biggest reasons, again, besides the depth, is Austin Jackson can back up every single outfield position. So, if things switch and I'm wrong and it's Duggar that makes the opening day roster, you've got a phenomenal bench player and backup outfielder in Austin Jackson. But I think Jackson's time and being a veteran, and those all say something to the Giants in giving opening day opportunities. It's, they kind of feel that he's earned it. There's a lot of potential opening day starts for Duggar. So right now I would see it going to Jackson.
Amy, as you know, the criticism that was, brought on this team after bringing in Kutch and Longo was the age of these two players. What do they need from both of these players, basically, to consider these trades a success?
Yeah. I'm telling you, girl, I don't know when 31 and 32 became old, but apparently that's really old. I think it's just service time and time on their legs that is the biggest concern. But what do they need from these guys? Well, they need them to stay healthy. That's number one, of course. So you kind of just, put that into the powers that be. You can't control everything. But I think they just need them to have a regular season off of their resume. And you look at that. I mean, look, McCutchen is an MVP. He's a Gold Glover, a Silver Slugger, an All-Star. Longoria, a Gold Glover, a 3-time All-Star. I mean, Giants are kind of going back to what works for them, which is defense. When you played AT&T Park, it's pitching and defense that wins games. And yeah, the home runs are great, and the Giants were last in home runs last season, so that did not help them. But they've never been a big hitting team, a power hitting team. They win their games on moving guys around and playing situational ball. And I think if they can get some pop out of McCutchen and Longoria, that's a benefit. But they're looking for their defense, and all you got to do is look at their resume to know how good they are with the glove. So a little bit of pop at the plate wouldn't be a bad thing. It's always fun at AT&T Park when you see a ball go out of the park, because it rarely happens. But I think they just need them to have a normal season. And they're both coming off of kind of a down season last year. They have a change of scenery. The pressure's kind of off on these guys. I was able to talk to both of them at our media day. I thought it was really interesting what they said. My question was, do you feel a lot of pressure coming here because the Giants had such a difficult season last year, and here they're looking to you to turn things around? Well, they both said the same thing. The pressure's kind of off. We were the face of our franchise on our respective former teams with the Pirates and the Rays. Now coming to the Giants, I'm playing alongside Buster Posey, Madison Bumgarner, Brandon Crawford, Joe Panik. It's, everybody's an all-star. So everybody's at the same level. And they were really excited about that and kind of giddy and able to kind of go back to just their love of the game. So I think you'll see that play out on the field.
I know Giants fans were giddy with the addition of Tony Watson, because that was one of the glaring weaknesses for this team, was that bullpen, at least bridging from the starting rotation to closer Mark Melancon. So what's Watson's role going to be this year?
So Watson's interesting, and I don't know a whole lot about him. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but what I find the most intriguing about him, beyond the fact that they needed to address their bullpen since the playoffs of 2016, which you really felt the bullpen, you just watched it crumble against the Cubs. So this has been a glaring problem that they needed to address. But Watson on paper reminds me of Jeremy Affeldt from, the core four of the Giants when they won their 3 World Series. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's going to bolster that bullpen in the late innings, and he can also get out lefties and righties, which is invaluable in a bullpen and something that they haven't had since Affeldt retired. So I think he's just going to be a huge confidence boost. And again, adding depth into that bullpen, that if one guy's off that day, it's not all on this one guy over here. And that's how it's felt the last few seasons, that it wasn't, if one guy had a bad day, they all had a bad day, and you didn't really have that guy to pick anybody up. So I think they're looking at Watson to help be that pickup guy when another guy doesn't have it that day.
All right, Amy, how about a little bit of a blast from the past? Tim Lincecum is eyeing a comeback, and John Heyman recently reported that the Rangers and the Dodgers of all teams were potentially willing to give him major league deals. How would Giants fans feel to see Tim Lincecum in Dodger blue on opening day in LA?
Yeah, that would be tough. He would need some security. And he always needed security anyway at AT&T Park because the fans adore Tim. I think there's been enough of a separation between Timmy and the Giants that there would be an understanding as to where he signed. I mean, he went to the Angels, obviously. And in that time period, 2016, the Giants were interested in Tim, but in a bullpen role, and he still wanted to be a starter. So I don't know if that's what played a factor in the Giants not picking him up. They're certainly not going to bring Tim Lincecum back into a Giants uniform unless they're able to put him in a position to succeed and have success. They love him. The fans love him. I don't think that relationship is damaged. I just don't think that there's a spot for him right now. So it wouldn't be the first pitcher to don a Dodgers uniform. Of course, we saw Brian Wilson do it. We saw Sergio Romo do it. So the shock value may wear off a little bit. I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in. I hope he doesn't, because it's always weird to see them wear their rival. But at the end of the day, Alexa, it's a business. If you want to sign with a team that's going to pay you for your skill set, that's what you do.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a heartbreak at first, but yeah, like you said, once the initial shock wears off, it's just all baseball. All right, this Giants team is going to look to be a team who lost 98 games last year, one of the worst records in the majors, and turned it around this year to be a playoff team. They play in one of the hardest divisions in the league. They had 3 teams from this division make the playoffs last year. How are the Giants going to make it this year?
Well, the Giants are tricky. They've always got something up their sleeve. But I think the biggest motivating factor for this team is the embarrassment of last season. I mean, these are 25 guys who are elite athletes. They're winners, and they were absolutely humbled and shut down, and their egos were bruised last year, and they're the first ones to admit it. So the good thing about the expectations, if anywhere you look on that field, you've got Gold Glovers, you've got All-Stars. Again, like I mentioned, everybody kind of seems to be at the same caliber. So I think that bodes real well for confidence going into 2018. But the biggest factor is they don't want to feel this way again. It was a brutal season for them and a brutal season to cover. And I think that they will do anything they can to not feel that way. And I'm just going to put out my prediction, 88 plus wins, I think gets the Giants into at least a wild card spot. And everybody knows the Giants are very dangerous should they reach the postseason.
And it's an even year, Amy. That's what we're all rooting for,
right?
Too. Yeah, that even year magic.
We love those.
We'll see. Amy Gutierrez of NBC Sports Bay Area, thank you so much for joining us. What an awesome debut, and enjoy this season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care. All right, we asked you to caption this photo of Giancarlo Stanton, and you guys put your thinking caps on. This was an awesome, awesome caption contest, but we need a winner, so we're going to go through the entries first. This is from Tim. Tim said, wow, pressure of a Yankee is already getting to me. I like that. That's pretty good. John said, Yeah, there we go. There's Tim. Pressure of a Yankees already getting to me. Look at his face, too, man. He's really feeling it. All right, John said, as we show you the next one here, things weren't this difficult in Miami. Oh, man. Y'all are getting on Miami already? Too soon. Mike said, come on, guys. Someone just hand me my bat. I like this one. Just Stanton smash all over the table there. And then Will, tying it into our national day. I wonder how these would taste with pancakes. No, it's sour cream with waffles. Come on, Will. Get it straight. Get it straight. And by the way, we know that we have a lot of people who are arguing waffles over pancakes in the comments. I believe waffles were the winner. I know that that's not technically a thing, but I think that waffles are the winner. Anyway, so I'm going to give Mike the winner of our Caption contest. Someone hand me a bat. Stanton smash. I like that to get that pickle jar open. There you go. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, everyone, for entering into our Caption contest. Really, really appreciate it. Y'all did a great job here on this Tuesday with this Stanton photo. All right, our final story here is a story that we talked about all week long. Shohei Otani making his batting debut yesterday in spring training, and he did not disappoint. His first at-bats in Cactus League action. Oh, my goodness. We've been waiting so long to see this. He finishes 1 for 1. He had a pair of walks to go along with an RBI single. He was wearing a glove to protect his pitching hand. This guy's got it all down. He knows what's going on. He's going to be so fun to watch all season long with the Halos. I believe he's going to be back on the mound this weekend, and we can see him back at the plate early next week. So a lot to look forward to there from Shohei Otani. All right, thank you so much for watching us here today on 1225 Live. Big thanks to Amy and Duquette and Danny as well for joining us. And we're going to do it all again tomorrow, so make sure you are there. Same time, same place, 1225 Live. See y'all.